hey, Vodika, who are you ratting now? You got the FBI on the phone. You going to rat on some officers here? So I stayed there for about 7 or 8 months, and I ended up going to responding to a house alarm on the yard. And we're running through the rotunda. The gunner up says, "Vodika, stop, don't go any farther." I stopped in a little tunnel rotunda before I went into the housing unit, and there was an inmate who was going to take me out with a broomstick. They took the warden out of the office, took all his files out of the office, took the investigative lieutenants and all their files out. And right away, that's when the phone was ringing and telling me, "I'm a dead man. You're no good, Vodika. You're a rat. You're a snitch. You ain't gonna make it anymore." And I lost it. So I was a dead. They basically said, "You're through." And I went to the office inspector general and I said, "Look, I need help. These guys, just calm down, Officer Vodicka. We'll take care of this." "No, I need out here now. You got to get me out of this prison now. These guys are going to do wrongdoing on me. And I don't know what they're capable of doing." I ratted them out. I gave them up. Now this is huge. So he wouldn't do anything for me. So I contacted Joe Reynoso, who's in the book. He's a personal friend and been with me ever since. And I called him and he told me, "Hey, just hang in there. I'll get you out of there." So he called his bosses in Sacramento and told them what happened. And then the bosses called the warden and said, "Hey, you better move, Vodika. You need to move." He says, "What if I don't?" The warden said, "Well, if you don't, there's going to be more severe consequences by you if you don't move now." So I got moved, unheard of. I got moved to another prison overnight, 6 hours away from my prison. And shortly after that, I stayed there for about 7 or 8 months. When I got there, I had a couple lieutenants call me, "Hey, Vodika, who are you ratting now? You got the FBI on the phone. You going to rat on some officers here?" So I stayed there for about 7 or 8 months, and I ended up going to responding to a house alarm on the yard. And we're running through the rotunda. The gunner up says, "Vodika, stop, don't go any farther." I stopped in a little tunnel rotunda before I went into the housing unit, and there was an inmate who was going to take me out with a broomstick. They had set me up. So the officers that were running across the yard with me stopped at the door. They didn't come in. They knew what was going on. This was all planned. So that was my last day of work. I walked into the warden's office at that prison, and his secretary said, "Where are you going?" I'm going into Mr. Malfi's office. "You can't go in there." "Oh, yes, I can." And I walked in there and I let Mr. Malfi know a handful. "You were obligated to protect me and not to do this." He goes, I can't protect you, Bob. I can't protect everybody." And that was my last day of work. And shortly after that, I retained Mr. Tron, Lanny Tron, and we went against the Department of Corrections for 5 years. And 2 weeks before trial, my father passed away, and I had enough. I mean, I know I could have went to trial and won that case, because the mediator on that table told the Department of Corrections, "You guys better settle with Mr. Vodicka, because what he has, he's going to bury you guys. I mean, you don't want this for public information. You don't want this to go to court, because if it does, every document that he has is public information and it's open to anybody who wants it." And you know what, Willie? When I went to court with Lanny one time up there in Monterey, I had to go see the judge, Judge Duffy. He wanted to see who I am and all that and get us ready for trial. And as I was walking out of the courtroom after we were done, the bailiff, I felt somebody tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around and the bailiff handed a note to me in my hand. He was the bailiff of that judge for 10, 15 years. And he handed me a note in my hand, and I walked out and I read it. He goes, he basically said, "What you did, Mr. Vodicka, I commend you for what you've done. There's not too many people who do what you do, and I commend you for what you've done." I mean, he's a bailiff. He's a sheriff. He doesn't work for the Department of Corrections. So you know what? I mean, I've seen a lot, Perry. I mean, I've seen officers plant weapons in inmate cells. I've seen officers beat down inmates and tune them up and go into level 1 yard, thrill them just for they can, because they wear a badge. They're above the law. They think they're above the law. I want to stop this. I want to stop this from happening, not just in California. I want to stop this throughout the United States, because officers, they see wrongdoing, or a sergeant sees wrongdoing, that we have an obligation to protect them.
Now, How have you been holding up since you have left that position? How have you been surviving?
Well,
DJ, be very careful about what you say.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
how am I surviving? I got out with a 90% PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, workman's comp thing. And I got out, and I lived day after day. I lived day by day, and with the backing of my wife, and some of the medication that keeps me calm and not to think about it. But there's not a day I don't think about the green wall. But it was very severe with me when all this was happening at the very beginning. It was hard, with the support of my wife and Joe Reynoso, Lanny Tron, his wife. I just lived day by day, and I just want to get the word out, Perry and Jeanette. I just want to share my story with everybody.
Well, it sounds to me like you definitely going to continue to need the support, as much support as you can possibly get. And I mean, I'm talking about the type of support that even you may refuse. Not to compromise your position on receiving assistance from people, from help, but just to let you know that if moving forward with this fight, I have the strong impression that support for you is going to have to grow, and it's going to have to consolidate, and it's going to have to be able to hold you down, because I get the impression that the real fight is ahead. That's my opinion. I mean, Lenny, you tell me, what do you think? I get the impression the real fight is up ahead.
I never want to look too far in the future, because in some sense it scares us. And I think, Perry, you're absolutely right. The fight, I don't know about the real fight. I think the fight continues. The fact that DJ got a credible death threat this year, almost 20 years after he reported the green wall in the first instance, leads us to believe that his request to see things change, it will need to go on. I mean, it's going to require DJ to keep a stiff upper lip and keep fighting the fight and keep sticking his chin out to see change. I think Perry and Jeanette, the country.
Lanny and prison reform is huge right now in this country. I mean, for the last year, 2 years, with all this corruption in law enforcement and police officers and the stuff that happened in Minnesota and just everywhere in the United States, especially prison reform, prisons, it's huge. I mean, but just lately, Perry and Jeanette and Lanny knows, my book, when I wrote it in 2009, it was a big topic for about 6 months. And then it went underground for about 9 or 10 years. Just recently, Lanny can tell you, within the last year, Perry and Jeanette, people are reaching out and they're finding my book online, and it's just, it's selling like hotcakes, and people want me and Lanny to come on podcasts and talk about our story. Your platform's great. I want to go to the bigger platforms. I want to expose this stuff, and if we have to do it, on a big screen or whatever, that's great. But I want to get it out because, like Reform Alliance, they're big on prison reform. I don't know if they've ever heard about my story. FAM Foundation, you guys, you guys are on the East Coast. I'm way away from the East Coast. But I want to share this. I want to share this story to people who want to hear it. Just like you and Perry and Jeanette, you brought me on your podcast. And I just want Lanny. Lanny understands how powerful, how strong I am. Lanny's very strong about my story. We've known each other 15, 16, 17 years. And we're going to know each other until we die.
Donald DJ Vodicka, born in Camarillo, California, served 4 years in the U.S. Army. He joined the California Department of Corrections in 1988 and oversaw the rapid expansion of the prison system. For 16 years, he was a prison guard in California's highest security prisons, serving meals to gang leaders and serial killers. He belonged to an elite unit called the Investigative Services Unit, otherwise known as Internal Affairs, a unit responsible for solving horrific crimes inside the prison walls. He became the sole whistleblower to uncover a group of rogue prison guards who called themselves the Green Wall. The Green Wall is a real-life drama of DJ's courage against the California state prison system. It's an unflinching look at what can go wrong when just one person is willing to stand up and speak for what is right. His televised state testimony exposed a scandal that led to resignations, transfers, sudden retirements, and reforms of the system that are still underway to this day. It's the story of a classic example of triumph of personal integrity in the most dishonest place imaginable. The Green Wall. Available on Amazon. Learn the truth.
And we're going to know each other till we die. And that's how it is. I mean, I want to share this story until I die. Until I die. You
can expect the Hustlers Corner New York City to be pushing your book pretty hard.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah. That's for sure.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Appreciate it. That would be great. That would be great.
Now, that's the book right there.
Yeah.
We can't wait. Just do us one little favor.
Do
us any way possible.
Jeanette, it's kids these days. It's kids these days who are electronic gadgets. They can't read a book anymore.
That's true.
It's just that it would. I would imagine that it would be to your benefit tremendously. It would help a lot. If there's any way you can put it in Kindle format, that would be great.
I mean, I can reach out. I can reach out to the publisher. I know it was in Kindle when it first came out, but I'll try to reach out to the publisher and see if they can put it back in Kindle.
Okay, good idea. Great idea.
Well, with that said, we're going to bring this to a close. We love this, but we also want to take this moment to invite you to come back, because we're going to read that book through and through, and we're going to have some questions. So we'd like to invite you to come back, if that would be all right with you.
Yeah, if we both come back, that'd be great. Because, if it wasn't for Lanny, like Lanny told me, let me tell you one thing that will really shock you guys before we go, is the Department of Corrections in our settlement hearing, they wanted to put a gag order on me. And Lanny looked right across and they said, we don't want Mr. Vodicka to discuss or whatever, talk about this. We settle this case with you and Mr. Tron and Mr. Vodicka. We just leave it here at the table. And I can remember this day, Lanny looked right across to both of them, Attorney General and the lawyers from the Department of Corrections. He goes, no, he's going to write a book. He's going to share his information. And if you guys can't accept that, then we'll go to trial. They said, okay, we'll have to accept that. Well, here we are. Here I am. And Lanny made it firm to him. You're not going to tell my client what he can and cannot do. You've already damaged him. You've already hurt him. What more do you want? Let him express what he wants to. And I wrote this book. And in this book, there's names in the book. There's evidence in the book. I have all the evidence to support this book. I wrote one book and one book only. And this is a powerful book. Lanny knows this book's been used in legal briefs in California right now. There's the lawyers using my book as a legal brief and going back as evidence. And there's judges in the book that heard about my book and read about my book. Lanny spreads the word in California about my book. So.
Yeah. Let me ask you, run a name by you. I want to ask you this one question now. Personally, the way I feel about this guy, to me, it seems to indicate something that is starting to happen. Derek Chauvin. I want your opinion. Now, I don't know how you feel about the guy. Me personally, I saw this coming a long time ago. Remember when Giuliani was mayor of New York City?
Yeah.
And remember the police officer that he had put behind bars for sodomizing Abner Louima?
Oh, yeah.
He got 40 years behind bars. I said, it's starting to happen. The dominoes are slowly starting to fall. And now we got Derek Chauvin. Do you see more convictions like this coming in the future?
Me, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Me, I can see it absolutely happening. I mean, I'm against defunding the police department. I am against defunding the police department. They need equipment, they need whatever they need to support their organizations. But when it comes to wrongdoing by a police officer, absolutely. Just because he wears a badge on his chest doesn't mean he's above the law. He doesn't need to go out and commit crime against somebody. Absolutely. If you commit wrongdoing and you get found guilty, you're going to go do your time, and you're going to do your time rightful.
I support reallocating funding for helping to expose the bad police officers and bad corrections officers. That's what I think the funding should go to.
I concur on that.
Okay, that's But is there any last thoughts that you guys want to share with us?
Go ahead, Lanny. I'm done, but you can, Lanny.
Okay. Yeah. Well, as DJ said, it's important that if you see something wrong, you say something about it, and you be willing to appreciate that you're doing the right thing. And I think it's only through people like DJ, people like you, Jeanette, people like you, Perry, that we get to a better place in our society. I think, and I pray that Derek Chauvin was an aberration. I don't think he was, but I hope that we shed more light on that situation and that kind of misconduct, and we root that out so we can move forward. And I think, and I pray that people realize that we're all in this, we're all Americans, and that we all want to be better, and we want to gain that spot in the world again where people want to be and look up to Americans, because we treat people fairly and we treat people with dignity, whether they're incarcerated, whether they're neighbors, whether they're shopkeepers or whatever. So I think it's been a real pleasure and actually a real honor to meet both Jeanette and Perry. And again, to my good friend DJ, I thank you for coming up to my office 17 years ago, because I think that the lessons you have left me with and my family with will be there forever.
And Perry, real quick, if you need to get a hold of me for anything and strong stuff, let Lanny give you his information where he can be contacted at his law firm or whatever. But because then he can reach out to me on that route, if that's okay with you and Jeanette.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just one last thing I want to add. As far as you, Lanny, saying that it was an honor and a pleasure to be here, I'd like to correct you on that. The honor and pleasure is all ours.
Thank you. Again, thanks.
So with that said, this is Perry L. Duff coming at you live from the Hustlers Corner New York City, saying thank you so much for joining us with these two awesome guests on our show. This is Perry L. Duff coming at you live from the Hustlers Corner New York City, saying thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us on our show. If you are a person who was exonerated for a crime you didn't commit, and you want to come and share your story, come share your story in the Hustlers Corner New York City Victims of the System series. If you are a person who lived a former nefarious life and decided to go the straight and narrow and self-reformed, active in the community now, steering and changing our youth in a better direction, come share your story on the Hustlers Corner New York City Legends of the Hood series. If you are a Black business owner and you want to come share your story about your business, and you want to talk about your goods and services and your story, come share your story on the Hustlers Corner New York City Black Business Movement series. If you are a performing artist, rap artist, hip hop artist, vocalist, actress, and you want to come share your story of how you achieved your career and your success, come share your story on the Hustlers Corner New York City On the Grind series. If you are a woman who has been through traumatic times in her life and you want to share your story of triumph, come share your story on the Hustlers Corner New York City Lipstick Stories series. And as always, if you enjoy this show, please show your love. Hit that like button, share, don't forget to leave a comment, and most of all, subscribe. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to you being with us again.